Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning Lalaland. If you ever were daring to be you and let the magic happen, you would seek Chen Lizra. Welcome to the show. I am so excited. It's such an incredible honor to be able to have this conversation with you.
I'm so glad to be here.
You are such a light. So our good friend Jerry Lerner, special shout out to Uncle Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Had sent me your TED Talk, and immediately I was mesmerized. Tell me a little bit about that for people who haven't seen it.
Well, the TED Talk was about 5 years ago, and he talked about the power of seduction in our everyday life. And what it was really all about is showing a different point of view of how we can see seduction from the point of view of Cuban culture, which is completely different than what we normally see in North America. Because in North America, we think seduction is manipulation and using people and robbing them of something and something negative most of the time. Not all the time, most of the time. But then you land inside of Cuban culture and you see how for them it's a way to build up self-worth and pride. And it's almost like a life skill for success. So I wanted to flip the point of view that we have and show that in other parts of the world we can see something that we see as a negative as a plus, and it's really a power, right? The same as money. Some person takes money and does charity with it. Another one turns into a drug dealer. So when we talk about seduction, it's the same thing. It's just a power that we can use in a good way. Like I can seduce my partner, I can create magic and desire in a relationship, or I can turn that into a negative thing where I'm using seduction to get something out of a person.
And the world is craving this. Over 8 million views on that one TED Talk alone.
Yeah.
There is magic happening there, and you embrace it. You're embracing it now. One of the most elegant women I have ever met.
Well, thank you.
It's really interesting, though, because it's something that I'm definitely seeking as I get older, to embrace my femininity. Mm-hmm. And I know the TED Talk was just a firework. That was the spark to your study of the somatic elements. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that.
So the power of somatic intelligence are basically about 5 elements that I discovered from doing work in Cuba over the last 13 years. So it's really like taking a time machine back and then taking a time machine back here, constantly back and forth, because Cuba got stuck 50 or 60 years ago, and there's still no internet on the phones, and there's no internet at home, and there's no advertising anywhere. You're talking about a place where there's no advertising on TV, nothing on radio, nothing on the streets. It's like it's clean. So your body image is formed out of what you feel and what other people make you feel, but not out of the fake image that someone gave you that you should be. And when you come to a place that's sealed like that in time, it's really an opportunity to see what we did great as a human race and what we really messed up. Because you see the results of the decisions that we've made, and you see how it used to be, and you see what turned out better, and we see what we lost that affects our happiness and satisfaction in life. And that's what I've been studying for the last 13 years, is trying to understand what is it in Cuba. They come in the streets and you walk, and it's not because you're on vacation. I'm going for 13 years now, and you feel love. And you feel a certain magic, and you go like, what is that magic that never ends? So I started investigating, and I found 5 elements, which I showed you before. So the 5 elements of somatic intelligence. Somatic meaning soma, body. So emotional intelligence taught through the body. And we've got elegance, intention, tempo, sabrosura, and the mystery.
What is sabrosura?
You went straight for the kill.
I went straight for it.
You went straight for the sabrosura. So the sabrosura is the element of love. And it's the sensuality that's inside each and every one of us, that when it gets released in a body, physical self-love gets released, and we release really dopamine and endorphin in the body that create a natural high. And there's a form for men, and there's a form for women. And it's one of the biggest secrets that's kept still in Cuba.
Now, when you're doing this with your hands, what is that for? What are you exactly evoking?
Well, that's a really good question. So when I'm doing this, it looks really easy when I do this, right? But in reality, there are a couple of things here. One is that to move this softly like water, I need to really open up the heart and not block anything. So I need to work through the things that prevent me from being this soft and feminine and vulnerable.
Now you're going straight for
the heart, all the way deep into what really matters, right?
Yeah.
Breathe. And then the other part of it is, if I look at my hands right now as a woman and I start to think, oh, my fingers are so ugly and they're fat, or I don't like the way the nails look. So that's the way my hands move. But if I look at them and I go like, that's the most gorgeous thing that I've ever seen in my life, it changes the way I move. And that tells you about how we feel about ourselves and how that affects what we're experiencing in life.
I'm wondering though, how do you believe that? Because as a woman, and I'm looking at my hand, instantly I notice the imperfections first, as you mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, my nails could be done. Oh, my veins. Am I getting sunspots? How do I trick myself? Is it a trick to think that this is really the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen?
No, it's not. It's about self-love. So it's not about being perfect. This is part of the problem, is because we see in the media constantly images of perfect women who are photoshopped, and we think that we need to look like that, which is unrealistic to begin with. There was a study that was done that discovered that only 4% of women today consider themselves beautiful. 4%. Do you get how distorted that is?
Is that worldwide, or is that a cultural thing?
Worldwide. Only 4% of women consider themselves beautiful. So we're projecting all these images and stuff, and women are so busy feeling like something's flawed with them. And what are we missing in the meantime? Loving ourselves. Can I change what is not perfect about me? And why should I even care? Like, if I'm in an environment like Cuba where I walk around and men just go like, oh my God, like they tell you in the street, hermosa, linda, preciosa, and everybody just tells you you're beautiful, and there's no advertising. Suddenly you go like, you feel the most beautiful that you've ever seen. You go like, oh, I am absolutely gorgeous. Just keep coming. Keep telling me that I'm so.
I'll have more, please.
Yeah, the battery just goes like, whoop. And it's not just for women. It's also for men. Like, men will walk on the street and a woman would look at them like, you're handsome. And they're not saying anything. They're just looking at them like,
Well, the flirting is part of the elements, right?
Yeah.
Besides the self-love.
Yes.
What is it? And when you say the no that turns to a maybe, that turns to a yes.
So we talked about a little bit about the sabrosura and the element of love. Now you're talking about the mystery. And the mystery is always the one that everybody has the most difficult time with, because it's got also sexual energy in it. And with the Me Too movement and, sexual harassment, people are scared of that energy. But we can't really lock down sexual energy because it links into our vitality. And when we lose too much sexual energy, people actually die earlier in an earlier age. So you can't really lock down sexual energy completely and put it into a cage. The no that means a maybe. When we think about flirting, right? What is that? It's that I say, no. But I'm really saying yes, like maybe.
Your eyes were saying
right?
it the whole time.
I'm not saying no, and I'm shutting it down. It's like I'm going like, no. But I left a door for maybe. And that's what flirting is about. Flirting is about, we see something, and then we get playful. So we show that we're interested.
Yes, okay.
So we show that we're interested, but without giving it, because we want that feeling like someone's coming after us, right? In the world of today, where everything is so instant, where it's like I go in an app and I swipe, and then it's like this, and then it's a booty call, and da-da-da. What is missing? What is missing is the romance. What is missing is that feeling of worth, like a man is interested in you and he's going to chase you and chase you and chase you till he gets you. Not I swiped and now you're going to come and see me and then I'll ask you to sleep with me at night. We want that classiness back. We want that flirting, the old school flirting. We want to feel good.
And I want to feel elegant.
Yes.
And that's one of the dials, right?
So we talked a little bit about the mystery, which is that element of playfulness. And now we've got the element of elegance, which is linked to our confidence. So elegance is not about what we're wearing, but about the possession of ourselves. So it's about the quietness of ourselves, the possession of ourselves. It's about the being. So nowadays we tend to talk too much and think too much, but not be enough in our body and feel enough. So if I say to you, for example, I like that. And
Tell me more.
And I stay there with the feeling, that has a stronger impact than I'm saying, wow, I love that. So you know what? That's amazing. And I would love also this. And like, that's so, I just filled it with so many words, but I didn't let that experience exist. But if I just go like, wow, that is amazing.
There was something very powerful in your silence when you do that.
Right. So that's the being. And the elegance has more to it, because if we think of past generations used to be very elegant, and they're very here, up in the chest, right? Like
I feel like very Queen of England.
Right, but it doesn't need to be Queen of England in the sense of like very cold and sealed and no emotion, but there's something very elegant in that gives me emotional sturdiness. So if I want to show the sabrosura, for example, which makes me very soft and very feminine and very vulnerable and approachable, I don't want to just be like, hey, right? It's too open. I want to be up here, elegant, where I still got my power and I can show that and be approachable, but it's here. And there's also elegance for men, and it makes them sexier because we go like,
What does here feel like?
It feels like it's up. Like imagine that you were basically getting every vertebra to like stretch up, 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 so that almost like someone pulled you from up here while your chest is open and you hold this here and you're up here. You look so elegant now.
Thank you. I have a great teacher.
So here, you know, Amy Cuddy spoke in her TED Talk. She's a Harvard professor, and she talked about power poses. And she talked about the fact that when you're in a power pose, which would be like a woman, a Wonder Woman, a Superman kind of pose, it changes the chemistry in the body in 2 minutes, which changes the behavior, which changes the results. That's a fact now. She did research to discover that. Elegance is a power pose. So whether you do it sitting or standing, like within 2 minutes, you'll feel more powerful. So that's a way for us, for example, to when we're going on dates, and when we're going towards meetings, or we're in front of our partner and we want to talk about something and we're shaky about it and we feel that ramble inside and we're uncomfortable, and I can come with elegance. And now I've got the being, right? It gives me emotional sturdiness.
I love that you can use your body to almost flip that switch in your mind. Because so many times if I'm nervous or I'm anxious and I want to just sit back and kind of curl my shoulders in, and I don't want somebody to talk to me because I'm feeling in my head, you know, all those things, my body is telling my head what to think and vice versa. But if I sit like this.
Right. So it goes both ways. And that point that you just brought up is super important, because when we have negative thoughts and feelings, what happens, like what you just demonstrated, we tend to curl in and then we fall down and then we feel uncomfortable, but we're changing the chemistry in the body right now. Mm-hmm. So if I'm feeling that badly and I change the body, I can also affect my thoughts and feelings, because it goes the other way around. So the way we move is the way we live life. So when we change the way we move, we also change the way we live life.
Move with intention.
Move with intention. Moving us to the next intention.
Exactly.
I love your little switches.
Yeah, the next element.
So we were at elegance and we talked about confidence, and now we've got the element of intention. And this is linked to basically, so intention. We've got intention right here, linking us to meaning and drive and purpose. So we have the axis of being and elegance and the possession of ourselves and the quietness of being ourselves. But if I'm just here, then what is happening?
Nothing.
Exactly. Because the doing is the axis of forward, of action. So when I want to be just being, I'm just here and I can just contain and be there for you or whatever it is. But when I want to start doing, I need to get intentional. And the body has to go in, right? And a lot of people, I'm not going to get up here, but a lot of people, when they stand, tend to take the weight on their heels, and then the hips go a little in, and then the back goes back. So if I'm like sitting now and I'm even just talking to you and I'm leaning back, what am I giving you like as a feeling?
I feel like you're setting yourself back. I don't feel like there is intention at all. I feel very disconnected.
Right. So it's like I'm almost like rejecting a little bit, and I'm kind of going like standoffish, right? That's what the body says. But if I'm now, let's say, going like
lean in,
what does that communicate right now?
Power, intention, purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't have to be here. I can also be here, but it could be even as small as I'm here or I'm here. And that changes the chemistry again in the body, and that already gives me a feeling like a drive and purpose, like I'm more engaged. So these elements are really important for getting us there, because they make us more powerful to do what we want to do. So intention and purpose and drive forward. And by the way, these two axes, the up and the depth, work like a yin and the yang. So it's like if I'm just going like boom towards something, that becomes very aggressive. right? We see people that are just so intentional at this, and you go like, whoa, I don't like their energy. They're too aggressive. When you're combining it with that energy of up and elegance and intention, it balances each other out. And also physically, if you're just going forward, you're going to fall. You have to keep up at the same time and forward. So it's the same thing with emotionally, right? Is that we've got to find the balance between the being and the doing.
We've got to get dialed in.
Dialed in.
When I look at this graph, that's how I am visualizing this, as dials. So I can turn it a little more this, a little less that.
Right.
Which is all about tempo, right?
Right. So the tempo, I'm looking at the right one. So the tempo is the element of enjoyment. And this one is a super important one because we start as kids and we have so much fun, right? The only thing we want to do is play. Give us playtime, great. No, we start crying.
Yes.
Play is the only thing that matters. Having fun. And then as we grow and we grow through adulthood and everything, we get to a point where there's a lot of responsibility, whether it's work, it's kids, it's relationship, whatever it is. And a lot of people get addicted to the pace of the race. So it's like, I'll finish this and this and this and this and this, and then I'll have fun. But as you're going through that, your body gets addicted to that rhythm. And the rhythm of enjoyment means that there's enjoyment throughout the day. Could be a small thing. I might drive in the car and go like, oh, that was a beautiful flower. Or hear the bird and go like, that was nice. Or listen to a song and enjoy it. But if we're in that rhythm of constantly this and this and this, and the song is this, and that annoyed me, and who cares about this, then we're missing life, and eventually everybody dies. So the rhythm of enjoyment means that our body has to be in a place where it enjoys. And actually, when we learn how to move with the body through enjoyment, it releases dopamine and endorphin in the body and creates a natural high. So think of how in the past we used to move. So if a woman, for example, I'm going to take a woman because it's easier for me, but it's the same for men, right? So if a woman moved, how did women in the 60s move? They were like, what do you need? And it's like, yes, let me take that. And it was soft and it was feminine. Everything was on curves. And that released dopamine and endorphin in the body. What do we do now? What do you need? What? No.
Over here, honk the horn. Yeah.
Right. We're sharp. So the way we moved used to release what we needed in a natural way through the tempo and through the sabrosura, and created that natural high for us. But as we got faster and more effective and more productive, which is what we wanted, we also started losing elements that affect our happiness and satisfaction and cause us stress and anxiety and depression and sickness and all those things that we're trying to now fix.
It's incredible to visualize these 5 somatic elements, but there are 3 keys to those, right? To unlocking those. What are they?
Okay, so this is really about our true nature. And when we're in true nature, we're in our balanced state where everything is at the right place. Like think about it like an optimal way of life for us, where I'm just right. There's no too much or too little of anything. Now, each one of these has a knob with a plus and a minus. And what dictates the amount is that it's not generic for everybody. It's personally for me, it's personally for you, and for anybody else. And it's based on these 3 things: the life stage, the cultural identity, and the self-identity. So the life stage has to do with what age I'm in. Am I meeting this in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, so on? And what is going on in my life? Am I breaking through a relationship right now and it's affecting who I am? Or am I really flourishing in my career right now? I'm going to meet these in a whole other way. This is cultural identity. So we talked before, for example, that you're American, but you lived in Europe. So in Europe, you met a lot more elegance. So that changes how you meet these elements. If you were just American, then you wouldn't have understood this the same way after living in Europe. And as I was saying to you before, if I say, Brazilian, you take the mystery, not a problem, right? But you put a British woman here, and it's not exactly the element that's necessarily the strongest for her. She might feel more comfortable with the elegance. But then some people might say, isn't that a generalization? Isn't that unfair? But if we think about it, if I take now that British woman and she has Brazilian parents, then all of this changes, which takes us to self-identity. So self-identity has to do with the values that we have at home. It has to do with how much love I got at home, my personality, am I man, am I a woman, what's my religion. So these are the things that really affect the amount for us. We can even look at cultural identity and analyze a culture through that. So as I was asking before, what's the strongest element for the US right now? if we look at
intention.
Right. So everything's so intentional, and we got to achieve this, and we got to do this, and we've got our goals. There's nothing wrong with having a super strong intention where it's at 100%. The problem is when we suddenly turn some of the other elements down that balance intention. So what got hurt in the US lately?
The elegance, the sabrosura, maybe?
So if we think of Obama was very elegant in his being. And that was part of what people loved about him, right? So elegance is going down. And then you have the sabrosura, so there was something more soft and more contained and, quietness and all that. So these two elements are starting to go down. And then intention becomes too much because it's at 100% and the other elements are going down. Then something is out of balance.
So if somebody wants to learn more about this and how to find that balance in their life, how can they work with you? How can they get more information?
Well, they can do a couple of things. One of it is what I created are basically retreats. At retreats, each element has a retreat, and they're in different places in the world. So there's the power of the sabrosura for women in Cuba, and there's the power of enjoyment in Marrakesh in Morocco, and there's going to be the power of intention in Israel, and there's going to be the power of our mystery probably in Brazil. So we've got different programs. There's one program just for women and one just for men, and then 3 other ones that are for men and for women. And we need to calibrate all elements. So it's really for people an opportunity to go through that at their own pace and pick that up. They can also work with me by doing coaching with me. I also do long distance coaching. People can invite me to do keynote speeches, workshops at organizations, really the works.
You're based in Israel. It's such an honor to have you here in Los Angeles. You were just having an interview with Louis Haas, right?
Yes, Louis is amazing from the School of Greatness, and I flew exactly for that. And then you guys invited me, which I was so happy about right at the last minute before I fly tonight. Super lucky. I did the School of Greatness interview, and that was really amazing because I think there's something so amazing about what Louis is doing, trying to teach people what he says are the skills that he wished that he was being taught at school. So he started the School of Greatness, and he's inviting different experts from around the world to talk about their expertise. And he really loved, the power of somatic intelligence because there's really nothing like it in the world. So I was really honored to be on his podcast.
Well, I'm very honored to have this conversation with you. Thank you for enlightening me with the somatic elements, for cueing me into maybe a little more magic in my femininity. And maybe I'll just see you in Havana.
Havana, una na.
Una na. Thank you so much, Hen. We'll be back with more on Good Morning Lalaland. Stay tuned.